All right, in this lesson we're going to learn how to use the like comparison operator to do some pattern matching. But before we get into the lesson, I want to show you that I'm using a different table. In fact, I'm not using a table at all. I'm using what's called a view. So I'm using this view called vEmployee, and here it is under views. And what's special about views are they are essentially kind of like pre-queries. It's basically a combination of columns from different tables that has already been put together for you, and you yourself don't need to worry about joining the data together. So this view probably is pulling in data from 5 or 6 different tables throughout the system, but from our point of view it's just one flattened result from which we can query. So the reason I did this is so I have a little more richer data to use in our example. So with that said, let's go ahead and work on our data. So what I'm going to show you is how you can do a query where I'm going to get the information using a pattern matching. And rather quickly, let me show you how I can say, like, where, let's say I want to get everybody who has a last name that starts with R. I can say where last name like, this is the pattern matching part, and then I can say R, because I want it to begin with R, and then say percent, and then quote. When I run this, what this is saying is match the pattern where the first value in the last name is R, and then beyond that match one or more characters, and they can be anything. So when I run this, you'll see I highlighted the percent, and that I wanted to run percent. It doesn't work, so let me unhighlight and run. So here it's bringing back anybody whose last name starts with R and then has any other characters beyond it. Now you may say, well, what's so special about that? Because really I could have done the same thing using greater than and less than, right? So I could have said, for instance, actually, let's copy this. We'll do them side by side here. I could have done a query where I'm essentially doing where last name is greater than or equal to R, right? Let's get rid of this commenting here. And last name like less than S. And I get the same amount of, I get the same rows. So I got 15 in the first and 15 in the second. So you may say, I don't understand what's special about that and the pattern matching. And what's really cool is there are certain things that you can't use the comparison operators for that you can, like, for instance, how about finding every last name that ends in S? There really isn't an easy way to do that with last name. However, using the pattern matching, I can do that by doing a %S. And if I execute this, you'll see now that I am bringing back every last name that ends in S. So the last thing I'd like to show you is how we can do some pattern matching with phone number and actually have the data kind of fit a more narrow definition of a pattern. So I want all the phone numbers that have 555 in them, and how I could say that is like where phone number like, and then I could say match %555%, okay, and this is going to bring back any phone number that has the string 555. Now I could even make that a little more restrictive by putting %, and then a dash, right? So now I'm saying let's match anything that's for sure has 555 in the middle. It's not the area code or the last part of the exchange. And it does the same. Now, one thing you may have noticed when I was working with this data is that there are some international numbers in here. So is there a way just to query for the US style number? And there is. What I could do is use a single character match, which is an underscore. So I could say, for instance, underscore 1, 2, 3 for the area code, and then for the exchange another 1, 2, 3, and then a dash, and then I could do 4 for the last part of the number, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm matching specific characters. I'm going to match 3 characters, I don't care what they are, a dash, 3 characters, don't care what they are, then a dash, and so on. When I run this, whoops, I had that highlighted part again. When I run this, I'm only getting numbers in the US format, and those international numbers are no longer in the system. I could also, it's easily done, query where I put a percent at the end. The only issue here could be is that if there was like an X and then an extension number, that would get caught. So I like to sometimes be a little more restrictive with these and say execute. Now if I would have added 4 characters in the middle, it probably won't work because there aren't going to be any phone numbers that are a dash, 4 characters, and then a dash. So when I run this, you'll see I get nothing.